Hello, everybody. Welcome along to EFL today with me, Aaron Paul, and him over there, Joe Jacobson, as we look back at a mammoth weekend with plenty of twists and turns across our beloved English Football League. Great to be alongside you as ever. Joe, mate, what a weekend.
Yeah, how good is it to be back? Started off with that mammoth game on Friday night, the Coventry Sheffield United game. I think it just showed the class, didn't it? I think we bigged it up beforehand, being tight maybe, and two teams that are doing really well. And I just think the golfing class at the end just showed between those top clubs and the chasing pack. So good game to kickstart the weekend, but happy that the whole EFL was back.
You didn't see goals. I predicted goals, and I got
I,
them.
Listen, there's a few things that I need to apologise for. I think with my predictions over the weekend, you're right. I didn't see too many goals in that game just because of the defences were strong, especially Sheffield United. But you're right, and it should have been more. If that, I think 3-1 flattered Coventry in the end. That could have been 5 or 6 in the end. The way that Sheffield United were playing in that second half and creating chances, it could have been a lot more. So, yeah, I think you're right there.
Huge stories at either ends of the championship, and that's where the sort of headline of the weekend is, and is that Leeds United drop points again, back to back draws now for them. I didn't see that coming. I mean, absolutely incredible. Then at the bottom, big win for Luton Town over Hull City, but you look at it, Oxford losing, Hull losing, Cardiff drawing, and it just, I don't know, it feels a lot more open down the bottom now.
It's a great weekend, wasn't it, for Luton Town? I know Derby play on Wednesday night against Preston. And I feel like they need to get something out of that game. Do you know who I worry for? I worry for Oxford. Oxford, after Gary Rowett went in there and had all these great results, and I think they've got one win in 11 since then, and they're dropping, quite close, 5 or 6 points out of it at the minute. And I just think that the way that the bottom teams are all kind of picking up wins here and there, and Luton obviously won back-to-back games for the first time in 18 months, something like that. They had they're coming back strong. Cardiff need to pick up a win. They're desperate for another win.
I
And
think they're in trouble.
do you know what? So I didn't go to the game. I had family members that went to the game. Mum and dad both went to the game on the weekend, and unfortunately wouldn't give me one of their tickets, which wasn't very nice. But it's Mother's Day, so
So,
allow them to
would you
go.
have gone to the Cardiff game?
Yeah, I was down. I was down
Why
in
don't you
Cardiff
just buy
seeing
a
the
ticket?
family. I ended up doing other things. I was watching all the results come in. I was watching you on Soccer Saturday. That's what I was doing on TV. So I can't get away from you at the minute,
Fair enough.
which is perfect. I'm happy with it. But by all accounts, they played very well in the first half. Took the goal advantage and just didn't kick on. They needed that second goal. And Sheffield Wednesday are very good away from home, very good in second halves. Can turn things around. So unfortunately for them, at the minute they're still out of it, but Luton now with the form that they're in under Matt Bloomfield, they're coming on strong.
Yeah, interesting result there between Cardiff and Sheffield Wednesday. Who else should we look at in in the championship? I tell you what, let's talk about Bristol City, beaten by a goal to nil by Burnley. Their destiny is very much in their own hands, isn't it? Burnley 26 unbeaten, 26 unbeaten.
Yeah, it's mental, isn't it? And you mentioned earlier about Leeds dropping points at Swansea. One of the games where I thought that could be 4 or 5-0, and when they go a goal up inside a minute, I thought, oh, this could be a long game. But is that the difference between those top three teams, the goalkeepers? Now, I don't want to be this goalkeeper hater that a lot of players are,
No, be
but
it.
Ilan Meslier, both goals, I think he should stop. Well, definitely the first one where he drops the ball at the feet of the Swansea player who has a tap in. Is that the difference between the top three teams, that Leeds have a goalkeeper that they can't really rely on? They're letting in goals. And if you're going to I think you should save the second one in the last minute. And if that happens, Leeds are still top of the table. So, Bristol City against Burnley. Is there a more predictable result in world football than Burnley winning 1-0 at the minute?
No, I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. Defeat for Bristol City, Leeds United. This this isn't their favourite time of year where we enter onto the home straight. How worried are you for Leeds on a scale of 1 to 10? 1 being, nah, they'll be fine, to 10, oh my pants.
Yeah, Leeds. Would I be worried? I wouldn't say I'd be worried. I think it's just a more of a case of what's happened previously in previous years, getting to the playoffs, not getting promoted. I think that plays on people's minds, fans' minds, manager, players. Everyone will start thinking that it's not going to be, if we get to the playoffs, they're not going to fancy it. However, if they are in the playoffs, they should still win the playoffs. You know, I still think there's a huge gap between the top
Should
three.
they? They're unpredictable. Come on, they should win the playoffs, mate. They have a horrific record. I don't think they've ever won the playoffs. Leeds. I don't think. I think they have some really weird record with the playoffs. If they get to the playoffs, I worry for them. I really worry for them because it's a mini tournament in itself.
It is, yeah. And playoff brings about, like I said in previous shows, that team out of that top three who drops into the playoffs, it's going to be a hell of a momentum swing, mental toughness to see where they're all at. It's not going to be a team that's come up from 7th, 8th and got in the last day and they're buzzing to be in the playoffs. Whoever doesn't finish in those top three places, not going to want to be in the playoffs. They're already starting to think, are we going to have May off? Are we going to start booking our holidays? But they can't because of the playoffs. All these little things that the players don't want. So, yeah, I think it's going to go down to the last game of the season when all three teams can finish in all three of those places. And, yeah, I can't wait for it.
That's what we want, though.
Yeah, absolutely. You want that. You don't want a season where it goes down to the last day and there's nothing to play for.
Nah, you want entertainment.
You want the top three not knowing where they're going to finish. You want two. I think that last playoff space, or last two playoff spaces, is probably available for 4 or 5 teams. You want that. I think that after the weekend result, I think Norwich are just hanging on in there slightly, all the way down there. And you want the bottom teams. At the minute, all three can still stay up. I think Plymouth will go down, but the rest of it, that's like a little mini league in itself of 5 or 6 teams for those 2 relegation spots. So,
Norwich
loads at the minute to play for.
I'm not convinced, you know.
I'm not convinced, but they'll be thinking if we go and win every game from now until the end of the season, which, you know, and you know, that game on the weekend against West Brom, scoring a last minute winner like that can give you some sort of hope, some momentum, some sort of thing saying, you know what, this is our season. We're going to do it. Keep believing, lads. 5 points. No one's really on big form in those playoff places that they're chasing down. 5 or 6 wins, you know, I think
for Norwich,
they have it. Look, do I think they're going to be in it?
Joe,
No.
they've picked up 1 win in their last 5. They're not going to pick up 5, 6 wins. There's no chance.
Yeah, but I don't know. I just think with teams like that, there's no pressure on them now. I feel like everyone's written them off. They should have been in the top 6, I believe. They're a club that should be up there. But if they're looking at it now, they're thinking, you just feel it as a player within the camp that a last minute winner keeps it alive, and you start thinking, oh, actually, maybe everything's aligning. Yes, we haven't been in great form. However, if we can put a run together now, it's the perfect time.
Can we just, while we talk Norwich City, say congratulations to Jack and Brandis? Did you see this on social media?
I did, yes.
I mean, halftime, Jack was allowed onto the pitch on the pretext that he was to take part in a crossbar challenge, only to instead to propose to Brandis. He used to live in Norfolk, but they now live in the state of Virginia in the USA. He told BBC Radio Norfolk she had no idea it was going to happen. I have no idea how I kept it quiet, but I managed to. I just want to shout at the club and say thank you for being so accommodating. That was her first ever game. They've been together 2 years. She said, we were going out there and I thought, do I have to kick this? Because I don't know how to kick a football. But yeah, she said yes. And they've won a honeymoon as well. So congratulations to those two. Just on Norwich City though, Plymouth away is the next game. Then they take on Sunderland. Then Burnley away. But I look at the last game of the season, Cardiff City at home on the last day. That could be huge.
It could be, like we just said, we want games on the last day where both teams need to win, both teams need to avoid a defeat. One team may need to, whatever it is, but you want permutations for those last fixtures. And there's nothing better when there's one game where someone's trying to survive and someone's trying to get promoted. You hear the results coming in. All of a sudden, the manager needs to put on 3 strikers because they're desperate for a goal or 2 because of goal difference. I love it. I love it when that happens. And we want it to go down to the last day. I know you're saying that they're not going to be involved, and you're probably going to be right about it. However, you just want something to be on again, don't you? Even if there's a real outside chance. Going back to the proposal at halftime, did you listen to the fans chanting while it was going on?
You don't know what you're doing. Brilliant, absolutely brilliant. That's English humour to a T. Anyone else from the Championship you want to pick on?
The Luton Hull game. Did you see the goal?
What an absolute calamity that was.
If anyone's not seen this goal, it's if there's I said then about last minute winners to give you a glimmer of hope. If there's ever something that thinks this is not going to be our season, when your defender goes to clear it against someone else's head and it loops in into the far corner, you know, what can you do about that? If you're a manager, Ruben Sellis is watching that going, what can you do? It's just one of those things that you can't prepare for.
You can't coach that kind of thing.
And even if you did, I mean, you'd be going to Real Madrid if you could coach your players to be able to kick off another player and loop into the far corner. It was one of those things. And Luton, they showed some resolution of late under Matt Bloomfield, and a 1-0 victory is, managers talk about, don't they, a perfect result as a 1-0 victory where you nick a goal, you defend for your lives, you show that character, that determination to not let the opposition get that goal back. And it was huge for Luton Town, especially after going so long without winning away from home. There was huge things about that and talk about that, but Matt Bloomfield's able to do that now, and they look the team at the minute who are going to get out of it.
Have they actually got the minerals to do it though, Luton Town? Because for me, that it's just the lack of sort of goals, the lack of variety in the front line. I want to see Matt Bloomfield do well. I think we all want to see Matt Bloomfield do well, but I really worry for him. Sometimes it just doesn't feel they have the luck.
Well, you say that, and then you look at the goal against Hull. I think their next game's against Leeds United. Leeds now have to go there and win, which isn't going to be easy at Kenilworth Road. I think over the years, it's been a real tough place to go. Leeds have to put on a performance. They have to win for their own title chances and promotion chances. And Luton now are thinking that we can't afford to lose many more. Yes, we've won a couple of games of 3 out of 4, but at the same time, we're still second from bottom and still need to chase the teams above us. And at the minute, it feels like whenever Luton win, other results kind of go their way. And if they don't win, other results go against them again. So they need to try and put another result together, because after that, they've got a couple of games in their next 4 against Derby and Stoke, which could be huge for them, teams in and around them. And they're the games where I think could make or break their season.
Absolutely. Speaking of Stoke, absolutely stunk the place out before a 3-1 win over Queen's Park Rangers, which will give them a little bit of breathing room. This is EFL Today with me, Aaron Paul, and Joe Jacobson. Where will we go next? I'll tell you what, let's have a look at some of the odds with BetMGM. These are the odds to win the league outright. And Joe, you said that you want a final day title battle. Let me give you the odds. Leeds United, they're minus 110 to win $100. You need to bet $110. Sheffield United plus 175, a $100 wager wins you $175, and Burnley plus 500, a $100 wager wins you 500 biggins. I don't think Burnley are a bad bet.
I don't either. I mean, the money's not. The bet isn't with Leeds, is it? With those odds, I feel like that Sheffield United. That win on Friday night was a big win, a big statement win, with the cameras there, with all eyes watching. Start of the weekend, we're going to put a marker down here, and they did that massively. So I think they're the team at the minute. Obviously, they're top by a couple of points, and it would have been more without their points deduction. If they didn't have their points deduction, I think people look at them saying they're done, they're up. But because of that, they're just 2 points ahead. So one game can turn that around. But yeah, for me, the odds are with Sheffield United and Burnley as well. Like you said, I think to get your value there, it's those 2 teams.
Absolutely. Those bets with BetMGM. If Sheffield United, by the way, hadn't had that 2-point deduction at the start of the season, don't forget they'd be 4 points ahead at the top end of the league. But yeah, Chris Wilder doing a magnificent job there. Let's push on into League One. Loads of results to talk about. But first up, a managerial sacking, Joe. Steve Evans out the door at Rotherham. And it has been an absolutely miserable season for the big man.
It has, yeah. And you know what? It's one of them clubs where he's had success before. And I feel like it was a good fit him coming back. Look, Steve Evans isn't the type of manager that's going to come in and lay down foundations for a 5-year project and want to kind of bring through loads of young players from the academy and put a plan in place for the next few years. He's all about instant success, and that's fine. That's what Rotherham obviously wanted. They wanted to get back to the Championship. They kept being this yo-yo team that went from the Championship to League One back in, was it 5 seasons in a row? They went up, down, up, down, up. So it's just not worked out, is it? He signed his players. There's 1 or 2 players that seem to follow him around everywhere he goes. He brings in Alex McDonald, who's a very good player and a great guy, and he seems to be one of his guys that he takes with him everywhere. But it just didn't work out. And to lose 4-0 at home to Crawley, and it could have been more as well. I think Crawley absolutely dominated them. To come out then, I think the fans are unhappy. The fans, as soon as they start booing and kind of singing that we want Evans out, I think there's only one way it goes. The interview after the game was crazy for me, that the club official kind of went in on him, not just him, the players. I think Steve Evans, I know him, he can be aggressive on the touchline. He's not
abrasive, I think is the word. He's abrasive, isn't he?
He's not one to shy away from confrontation, to get his point across in certain ways. I feel like referees are going to be thinking, I might have a nice little break from Steve Evans for a little while now before he goes into somewhere else. But the interview afterwards, I couldn't believe what I was listening to. It was very brave, I thought, from the interviewee, asking those questions, almost telling him that he should walk away and how he's not been sacked and how the players aren't good enough and how the team's not been good enough under him. So fair play for him to doing that. Fair play for Steve Evans for not losing his rag. But ultimately, I think it's the right decision and gives a manager time now to come in before the end of the season, have a look at the squad, start making plans for next season. And I think it's a really important decision now on who goes in there. I don't know what you think, but I feel like it needs a kind of change of direction, Rotherham.
Absolutely. They're this club that go up and they can't seem to stay up. It's sorry, the way I said that was funny, but it's true. It's just the way it is. And with them last season, the way they got relegated at the Championship, it was not fun. It was not enjoyable. Matt Taylor leaving, Liam Richardson coming in mid-season, unable to stop the slump, and it was really depressing. I mean, the gap between themselves and Huddersfield, who finished a place above them, was 18 points. So they really stunk the place out. But they came in the summer with an idea of doing something. Liam Kelly, really experienced signing for them from Coventry City. Johnson Clark-Harris, absolute goal machine on a free from Peterborough United, and you really thought they were building foundations there. Joe Rafferty, Sean Raggett, good players as well. Malik Wilkes, Louis Sibley. This is not a squad full of rubbish. This is a squad with with really, really good players in it. And I don't know what's gone on there. Maybe they haven't taken to Steve's methods. Maybe they're just not a fan of how he approaches things. Him and Paul Rayner, his assistant, but it's slowly unravelled, hasn't it? Second spell with Rotherham. What was it? Seven defeats in 11, and you just don't come back from that. And the interview, I'm with you, was poor. It was really it was quite a tough watch. Points, yeah. Or a tough listener points. But Steve has moved on. I know him really well. He's a really good guy. Like, I know he gets a bad rap, but that's because he wants to win. He enjoys the dark art side of football. He enjoys competitive advantage, like the most basic little thing. If he can get it, he'll do it. But he's not a bad person at heart, and I really look forward to seeing him another ground and another game pretty soon. But good luck to Rotherham United, and I just wonder where they go from here in terms of the direction. You talked about them needing something fresh. I'm with you. they need a change big time. They need someone to just try and breathe life back into the football club, because Tony Stewart, the chairman's fantastic. He puts resources into the football club, but it's sometimes just, you're competing against some big deals out there, and it's really really tough. By the way, that was a 4-0 defeat by Crawley, by uh, on Rotherham by Crawley. Just taking a look at the top end of the league table, there were wins for Birmingham, Wrexham, Wickham, Charlton, Stockport, and Reading. All of the top 6 victorious at the weekend, and it just shows the quality. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't be surprised if that's how it finishes. That top 6 there right now.
I think the top 5 will be in the top 5. I think that last playoff spot where Reading currently hold the position is up for grabs. I think it's theirs at the minute. But you look at Huddersfield, Bolton behind, even Leyton Orient and Blackpool, who have kind of put themselves back in the mix a little bit. I don't think they'll get in there, but 4 wins out of 5. I think they've finally found a little bit of form under Steve Bruce to have a little bit of a go there. But there's some big teams chasing down Huddersfield and Bolton. They wouldn't have been thinking about playoffs at the start of the season. They'd have been thinking about automatic. We want to go up automatically.
Mm-hmm.
Huddersfield's a huge club in this division. Bolton, likewise, who have missed out in the playoffs the last couple of seasons. You'd have thought that both teams will be right up there, and they underperformed this season, which has culminated in 2 managers gone from their teams, even though they're in and around the playoffs. So that's exciting, that last spot. And the top teams, there's nothing worse than when you're chasing the top 2 and you look at the results. You just had a big win and you're looking around and everyone else has won. You're like, we've got to go and do this all over again now because we've not gained any ground on anyone. But I think it's just so strong. And what I like about it is this business end, this pressure end of the season, they're all picking up wins, which shows that they do have the balls to kind of go there, know what's at stake, put on a performance. And again, that I just want it to go down right to the wire. My old team, Wickham, still in there with a shout. Wrexham are flying at the minute. When it really matters, they're getting penalties every week. I don't know if I want to talk about Wrexham getting penalties again, but it seems like they're getting them every week. And fair play to them. They went down to Exeter, who have been really tough to beat recently. It was a tough game to go to. And they're just putting on form at the minute, not conceding goals. And it's theirs at the minute to throw away, I think.
Well, that's an interesting take. I watched Reading, by the way, 13 unbeaten. Reading, 11 unbeaten now under Noel Hunt. Absolutely fantastic. Raced ahead into a big lead. Peterborough pulled one back, but it wasn't enough. Let's look at League Two for the weekend. And again, taking a look at the top, Walsall dropping points, Bradford City dropping points. Big wins, though, for Port Vale and Doncaster, as well as Notts County and Grimsby. But just taking a look at that top 6, and it's just busy, Joe. It's really, really busy.
I was going to say I was looking forward to seeing your Omar Bagil shirt behind you today, but it's not there. You're in a different venue. But
in with the goal this weekend.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I thought, and I thought they were going to hang on. And the last 5 minutes of the game, Walsall came back into it. I've never seen a team not win in 7 and still be top of the league. That's incredible, isn't it?
I know, but don't forget the gap was huge.
Exactly. That's what I mean. It shows how well they did beforehand. But I look at it now, and Doncaster have put him right themselves in the mix as well for that top 3 places. They've got a game in hand as well. So I don't know with who's going to finish where. I thought that Walsall, then Bradford with their run were desperately going to be in those top 3 places. They again drew 0-0 on the weekend with Accrington, and it's one of those where you just can't predict anything that's going to happen around the place. No one's really on form. No one's putting a huge run together. Every position, I think, in the top 6 is up for grabs. And then down the bottom as well, I feel like the bottom 2, I think it was a huge win for Tranmere. They've been on a good run of form. I feel like those bottom 2 places are going to stick. So I think one thing that's not going to be decided on the last day is probably them bottom 2 places.
Yeah, taking a look at some of the other more interesting and niche results, did you by chance watch Colchester's game on Friday night? I wonder. They lost 2-1 at home to Grimsby. Did you catch it?
Saw the highlights, yes.
Yeah. Did you see their pitch?
I was trying to think, have the groundsmen started to put some new fancy lines across their pitch? Or is it
Lines.
just kind of,
Did you not see the patches, the round circles, the spots?
yeah, but there was also these like lines going across the pitch as if the like trenches were dug out
They are
during,
trenches, yeah.
yeah, it's
They're for drainage, but the problem is that the pitch hasn't. It's cutting away at the seams there. What's more crazy is that there are big yellow patches all over it in terms of like big circles, and Colchester United having a real big troubles with the home service back to back defeats for them, battered at Bradford, and then being beaten 2-1 by Grimsby in a tough encounter. Grimsby just pushing themselves into those playoff positions and putting down some foundations. 4 points ahead there, Grimsby. Tranmere Rovers, big couple of weeks for them. They are unbeaten in six now after drawing with Port Vale, drawing with Grimsby. They beat Bromley. They beat Bradford. They've beaten Cheltenham this week after drawing with Fleetwood, and that's huge in terms of kicking away. Tranmere Rovers to be unbeaten in six is massive.
yeah, huge. Right at a time when they needed it desperately. And you got to say, fair play to them. They're a huge club, Tranmere, in that division, aren't they? They're a big club that have been. I'm sure they used to be in the championship at one point, going back into the 90s, a long time ago when I was starting watching football. Remember them having a big Wirral sponsorship across the front of their shirt. But it's, they should not be competing down the bottom end of that division. And for Carlisle and Morecambe in those bottom two places, Morecambe obviously had a very good win against Swindon, but it's those teams who kind of flirted with the relegation places, year after year after year. I think at some point it catches up with you. And Morecambe, getting to League One and staying in League One for a couple of divisions was incredible for the size of the football club. But off-field problems have just caught up with them. They found themselves in this position. Tranmere now are, for me, they're safe, and because they're on form. And, I feel like those bottom two places will be taken up by those two teams.
We forget sometimes. Newcastle United, by the way, 250,000 people turned out to go and watch their trophy parade for the League Cup final. Tranmere Rovers reached the League Cup final in the year 2000. So 25 years ago, they played Leicester City in the League Cup final, losing narrowly by 2-1. So yeah, just a bit of insight on Tranmere. Joe, let's talk about what's on each other's mind this week. It could be anything at all. What you've been thinking about this week?
What I've found the last few years is the admin of football clubs, the social media admin, have kind of become stars in their own right. Are they getting too big for their boots, or are they creating kind of a personality of themselves that straight away after games fans want to see what their social media posts have got one over the opposition? Now, as a player, sometimes you're always careful, and managers as well, of what you would say after a game. You didn't want to wind up opposition. You didn't want to say something that could come back and haunt you. But now I'm seeing TikToks of videos of haunting opposition. It goes back to a game I played in for Wycombe Wanderers against Plymouth Argyle a few years ago. And we went down there, and you mentioned that word shithoused it a victory a few years ago. And the admin for Peterborough, for Plymouth after the game just put, Wycombe came here to waste time, niggle, get under our skin. They did it and they won. We were celebrating, going, this is perfect. The Plymouth fans weren't happy about it. Afterwards, it creates niggle just on the social media guys. So I look forward to watching them after games. There's certain teams where I like to see, what was said. We mentioned last week about Port Vale and Barrow and how Barrow kind of did over Port Vale with their unlucky lads. We lost 4-1 because Port Vale's social media admin came out and said they hit the post 4 times.
Port Vale
So
social
yeah.
media are very funny.
Yeah, and I love it, and that's what I mean. But it can create that beef, that extra beef that players and managers are probably thinking, "Oh, we don't need that again." But that's what I mean. Are they getting too big, or are they stars in their own right? So, what about you? What's on your mind this week?
I just hate football. really. That's twice in a week that my side have dropped points from winning position. Granted, Walsall's always difficult, but come on, man, we've got to be going and putting games away. And Omar with the goal, really good to see Omar scoring again after coming back from international duty and struggling with goals this season. But man, put them away. Like, come on, 4 or 5 minutes to go, get it done. It's so difficult. You know teams are going to come at you, especially if they know that you will concede, and it just happens. But somehow we still seem to be very much in the mix at the top end of the table, and we go to Swindon, the Republic of Swindonia, tomorrow night. A full program of fixtures, by the way, if you haven't seen loads and loads of football on this week. So yeah, go on and check it all out. That is it for this episode of EFL today. Thank you to Joe Jacobson for joining me, and thank you to you for listening. We'll catch you end of the week where we'll preview this weekend of matches of all three levels on the pyramid. We'll also look back at some, well, what's no doubt going to be a couple of goal-fueled evenings across the EFL. We'll catch you then.